What's up? It's Jay Dizzle, Blackistand Radio. I want to piece together for y'all the dangers of being off code and how they're able to effectively pick us off because of us being off code. So let's start off with a couple clips.
Well, Democrats going door to door on Capitol Hill in the name of the anti-Semitic leader of Islam, Louis Farrakhan. It was part of a protest led by Reverend Al Sharpton and groups like Black Lives Matter, urging lawmakers to condemn President Trump instead.
We got some black radicals up here in Congress. This is what I'm trying to tell you. We have disguised ourselves in suits and ties, and we are some cold-blooded militant people.
So why aren't more Democrats distancing themselves from a man who likens himself to Hitler? And what if it was the other way around? Joining me now is the Director of Urban Engagement at Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Candace. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So what is your take on all of this?
Look, I think it's dark and it's ironic, and what we're seeing take place on the left is that a form of extremism is starting to take place. You can't even get me started on Al Sharpton. I mean, as a Black American, I fundamentally take great issue with a lot of the things that he's done here. We're talking about a man that has frauded the Black community over the last 40 years, now taking a platform and telling us that we should be aligning ourselves with Louis Farrakhan, who is a known anti-Semite. And this is the same platform on the left that they tell us that we should be worried about Trump because he's racist, because he's sexist, because he's literally Hitler, their favorite thing to say. And yet they align themselves with somebody who is a known anti-Semite. Just consider that for a second.
And what they're doing specifically, they're protesting this House resolution. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? It was introduced by Republican Indiana Representative Todd Rokita, and it formally condemns Farrakhan's anti-Semitism.
Yes, exactly, as it should. We should be condemning his anti-Semitism. This is a form of extremism. It makes perfect sense, but what they tend to do a lot, and when Al Sharpton is involved, what you know is going to take place is that we're going to see the Black community, he's going to extort their pain and emotion and try to get them to vote and think a different way for things, policies that do not make sense. He does this over and over again. He pushes Democratic policies that fundamentally hurt the Black community and make entirely no sense, but he thinks that he can do that because he's Al Sharpton, a civil rights leader, which he couldn't be further from a civil rights leader. So
that's my question. Speaking of voting, why are Democrats so hesitant to distance themselves from Louis Farrakhan?
Because the voter market, that's what it comes down to. The Democrats are losing a battle right now. They see that happening every single day, and they're not going to tip the scales any more than they're already tipped. They're going to keep as many people as they can in this form of extremism. You see Black Lives Matter involved. Talk about another extreme hate group that doesn't make any sense ideologically. We are seeing in our communities that they've actually raised, the Black homicide rate has gone up 17% since they've gotten involved because police no longer want to answer the calls because of their unfair war on our police. So, I mean, what it comes down to is none of it makes any sense, but what we're seeing is desperation on the left right now.
So this is a prequel, we're also told, to this upcoming march. It happens Saturday, April 21st, the 10,000 Black Men's March against Donald J. Trump.
I don't even get me started on this. It makes fundamentally no sense. There is no facts involved in this whatsoever. Blacks are better off today than they were when Obama was in office. Black unemployment is at an all-time low because of some of his policies. What we're seeing take place right now is that Donald Trump is encouraging us to end this system of government dependence. And people like Al Sharpton and the left and the Democrats are fighting to make sure that Black remain their ideological slaves.
All right, Candace, thank you so much for joining us. I've been wanting to have you on our hour of Fox and Friends First, so we appreciate you coming in early.
I have a kind of very simple rule of thumb. When people say to me, well, what are the areas that are of the agenda? And I say, look at anything you cannot have an alternative opinion about. Look at any subject where to say something different from the official narrative, you're going to get abuse, you're going to get called a Nazi, an ist of some kind, and you're basically going to get shut down.
Okay, so now understand something. Understand that this is a man that they have never gave this much light to, never gave this much coverage to, never directly attacked him the way that they will now. The reason they feel comfortable is because they see so much infighting of our people throwing him under the bus, so now they can grab one of their favorite coons on Fox and delegitimize and undermine his message, throw blatant lies. But notice that they won't ask him to personally come. See, these mainstream media outlets, they will not allow him to personally come, but they know that he's a threat to their narrative. That book is a threat to their narrative. That's really what that ban was about getting that book off Amazon. Because they know that his message is starting to resonate with the general public and with more of our people, more of our celebrities, and even non-black people are starting to hear the message and be able to understand the propaganda that they're using, calling him an anti-Semite. There's Jewish people coming out now saying that we know he's not an anti-Semite. So as we infight, it gives them the opportunity to pick off our people. But what you don't understand is that when they attack Farrakhan, they're not just attacking Farrakhan. They're actually attacking all of us. If they can knock down, and that goes for a lot of the people that they've attacked, if they can knock down the pillars, they're gonna come for the rest of the community. And don't worry, Candace Owens, they'll come after her sooner or later. Because they're not gonna respect her being off code any more than they respected Mark Lamont Hill. See, they understand that once they legitimize their voice, that they're also now going to be potentially a threat, so they'll get rid of them. So we just heard him talking about agenda. Anything you can't question the narrative of is agenda. It's the same thing that happens with the homosexuality. As soon as you say that you don't agree with it or you speak about it from the agenda perspective, they come after you. All of a sudden, they're banning you. They're blocking you. They're coming after your money. You owe them apologies. This is how they do that. And so many of our people that's backing this or silent about this or calling people phobic because they don't agree with it, playing right into their hands. Basically saying that we can't have another alternate view of what they're saying. But the detriment of that is now we have the NAACP that has endorsed the LGBT into the Equality Act of 1964. Meaning that now they're gonna have leverage on things that have to do with civil and human rights that our ancestors died for, including reparations. This is what happens when we're off code and when we're not legitimizing our own media, and when we're not thinking critically, when we're not thinking like chess. So we get off code, we start throwing each other under the bus. And then people who they already wanted to throw under the bus now become vulnerable. This same thing happened with Umar Johnson. No matter what you think about Umar Johnson, understand that after social media went crazy going against him, like clockwork, they had a case for him waiting in Pennsylvania. Y'all remember when that happened? You see, they wait until we get off code, because if they were to attack some of these people outright on their own, we would identify what it is. We would identify it as racism and them trying to neutralize our voice and trying to take some of our icons off, and we'd rally around them even if we didn't necessarily support them. They understand that. So they use our own against us. They use the feminist movement. Black feminists are going against the Black Power movement. They use the fact that we're divided and we don't want to be on code with who we are and we'll claim anything but African. So we have all these different groups with the exact same history, with the exact same experience, the exact same oppressor going against each other. And we can even move on to the Bill Cosby situation. They been wanted Bill Cosby. See, what y'all don't know about Bill Cosby, y'all mad at him for some things that he said. He's an old head, right? He's probably a little bit older than my father, around the same age. What would you expect someone from an older generation to say to us if they're trying to light a fire under our ass or correct us? No, it made us feel some kind of way. Okay, it's not any different than what we say about the generations that's younger than us. We have a lot of criticism for them. But why are they going after this dude? See, he's been about that. If you ain't seen that Black History Stolen From, Lost or Strayed that he put out in the 60s, you need to see that. See, he understands narrative. So they understand his capability. Check out this interview from the 70s.
You tell me and prove to me that black people are violent and that they're going to take over, and I can open up the New York Daily News and show you white people who are killing their daughters, their husbands, their wives, their children, killing each other off. Well, if we put that in the paper and make it black and white, which is where the whole thing happens. It's in the paper. If a black man does something, it says, John Jones, blacklist, said black, 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 and did the black, black. Now, if a white man does it, it isn't white man Jones. It's just a man. Nondescript, just a regular old raggedy man, went out, killed his 2 daughters and his wife, and shot himself. Now, if he does that, then everybody seems to just either sympathize with it or let it go out the window. But if a black man does it, then any white bigot can point his finger and say, see that? There they go again. Well, that isn't right. It isn't right. And it isn't right to try and let America go this way, because as a black man who is becoming a school teacher who is aiming to teach not only poor blacks but poor whites as well and treat everybody equally, I mean, I can't bring it upon myself to say, well, because I've suffered, and I'm going to kick this little white kid, and I'm going to step on him. Or somebody's mother comes up and says, Mr. Cosby, I enjoyed your show. Or for me to look at her and say, well, you're trash because I know all of your people. I don't live that way, and I try not to teach my children to live that way. Aha! But they are aware. They are aware of the feelings. They are aware of who they are. But it just isn't racially. So we have to take Amos and Andy off. We have to, at times, look at a Bill Cosby on I Spy from the late things and say, well, this guy doesn't have a girlfriend, he doesn't have a this, he doesn't have a that, so therefore he is as. We have to ask for things that are black on TV, because there are things that we don't see, you see.
You see, he understood the principles of liberation-minded media. Let's say that. He understood that. He understood our narrative had to be shown, because if not, then the narrative can be skewed in a way to make people think a certain thing about us and make us think a certain thing about ourselves that is detrimental. That's why they didn't want him owning NBC. They seen the positive images he's gonna put out. So meanwhile, while we're infighting, while we're throwing him under the bus, while we're taking their word and not really even checking out the actual facts of these cases that they brought against him, and this Me Too movement started by his sister, so they used that and validated that for a hot second, just long enough to convict him, because you can see everybody else in here ain't been convicted. So this is what happens when we're off code. It allows them to put a narration on us that we can't fight against, because they start taking us off of media. This is why you see the rise of independent black media being legitimized. And this is actually stirring a national and international conversation, but you won't know that if all you do is tune into the Fox Newses and the MSNBCs and you don't validate your own media. So they use what we do because they can't just outright attack us anymore. Understand that. Because we have independent black media, because we have the Jay Dills and the Blackistand and all these other great media platforms, they're able to do that. But they understand that the foundation that we're on is a detriment to them. And they know that their time is coming up. So like I said, why do we want to come after Farrakhan? Because he's exposing too much stuff. And you can see it again with this clip coming up about the media.
The media is bought and paid for. This is a hell of a betrayal of the American people when you will not tell them the truth because you're afraid that if you tell the truth, your bosses will take your job from you. That's a hell of a thing. You don't have a democracy when you don't have a free press. You're all slaves, and you love it. So you deserve what you get, the erosion of your democracy. You'll soon be the laughing stock of the world.
That works out to less than 50 cents a roll.
It's a damn shame. That's why the children are occupying space in New York, in Boston, in Washington, in Chicago, in San Francisco, and other cities. Why? Because they're not looking to you as a source of information for them. Look how long it took you all to talk about what was going on in New York. It took you 2 weeks because the same people that controlled the banks controlled the media. You all know it, but you're afraid to say it. But God put it on Farrakhan to say it for you. And maybe one day you'll get some courage to stand up and give America free media. a real free fourth estate. But right now, you ain't even worth the time of day.
Local news headlines, traffic and weather up next on WVON.
I'm glad. Hell, I'm not hiding nothing. You need somebody to tell the truth.
That's right.
You need somebody that's not afraid to die for the truth, that you could be made free. Because you're not free. And you don't really know what it means to really be a free white person, a free black person, a free Mexican, a free Arab. If you're afraid to tell the truth, what future does your children have in a society where truth is brushed to the curb? Because the genie is out of the box, the cat is out of the bag, the people all over the world are waking up. And you need to wake up and free America. Then you'll have a future and your children will have a future. But if you're afraid for what? You're going to die anyway. Where can you run to escape death? If you love America, then fight.
So that's why the media is coming against him. That's why the media is attacking him and attacking his voice. Keep it real. But by proxy, they're also attacking our voice. Because as powerful and influential as his voice is, really, what they really fear is what you see right there. What they really fear is that they know no man in history has been able to bring over 1 million people in one location at one time, multiple times. Over almost 2 million people, the first Million Man March. Now do the numbers. If 2 million people came to the Million Man March, that's probably 20 million people who at least would have wanted to come, but maybe couldn't have came. That's at least 20 million people that probably respect this dude. We're talking about half of our population or more, and that's rising. So they've been wanting to attack him. They're not gonna give him too much play. That would defeat the purpose. Now they feel more comfortable doing this because they see the infight in our community. If you don't think they're watching our Facebook channels, you saw that first clip. They had Malik Zulu Shabazz's Facebook Live that they showed on Fox News. They're checking out our Facebooks, they're checking out our social medias. They see when we're off code, and that leaves an opening for them to attack. When they attack one of our pillars, somebody who represents a multitude of our people internationally, once they knock them down, it's easy to come for the rest. The rest is going to be food after that. You see, you think that for some reason they haven't killed Farrakhan because he's a sellout. Bullshit. Look how powerful these images are. They know they can't touch him because they know when they touch King, hundreds of cities burn down. So if they touch somebody who could bring 2 million people in one location, what do you think's gonna happen? They understand. Hell, even when they touched King, hundreds of cities burned down, even including Seattle, Washington. That's what actually sparked the Black Panther Party being birthed by this brother and his brother in 1968 in Seattle, Washington. So imagine if they were to kill a Farrakhan. They have to wait. They can't even attack him until they know we're off code. Because if they were to attack him while we're on code, if they were to attack him on their own and not use our own people, then we would easily identify what it is as an attack on all of us. But that's exactly what it is. It's an attack on all of us. That's what they're doing. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Pop, 50 niggas. That's all I need. I don't need a whole multitude. I just need a small, committed group of niggas. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. And we're gonna get goals accomplished, brothers and sisters. That's all I need. That's all any leader or any person of any kind of influence or any kind of organizational aspirations needs. Just a small group of those who are dedicated and other people will support and help it. And that's how we have to start moving. They're gonna try to knock down all of our major pillars. We're gonna let them because we're off code on some house nigga shit. Real talk. And because of that, they'll use those house niggas who they'll throw away later anyway against the greater cause of our people. And this is what we've been seeing. Some of y'all don't understand that you're being off code is being detrimental. You're putting your personal petty things against what's best for the group. And that is detrimental to us all. Contribution is greater than criticism, and criticism without contribution is literally going backwards. So this is why we have to understand the detriments of not being on code. Understand why other people will not throw each other under the bus publicly, even if they do disagree. They're not going to do it. Make sure you like the Blackistand Radio Facebook page. Join Blackistand Nation Facebook group. Check out Blackistand Radio on Blog Talk and make sure you follow it there. All power to the people. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put this message together. I don't want it to be too long, but I want y'all to really get the point. Make sure you share this. Make sure you, comment on it. Subscribe to all things Blackistand Radio, J Dizzle, Matter Cat. I'm out. Peace.